Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders in business, life, and all points in between. Very excited today to be joined by Dr. Jessica Samuels, and we're going to be talking about how to use LinkedIn to attract promotions, paid board seats, and profits. I'm very intrigued about what you have to share with us today, Dr. Jessica. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Greg. I'm delighted to be here in the Windbound community and looking forward to a great discussion.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start it out with you just telling us? I mean, you're a fractional CHRO in focus on executive leadership, career coach, business coach, keynote speaker, LinkedIn expert. You have like a gazillion initials behind your name, all your degrees and things. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your personal journey?
Absolutely. Very nice to meet you again, Greg, in the community. I always like to say that I started my people career as a high school teacher, a middle school and high school teacher,
Oh.
and majored in health education. And so I've always cared about wellness. As the years went by, I realized there was this space, occupational wellness, and thinking about how can we show up as our best selves at work. And so that led into learning and development, and then organizational development and HR. And along the way in that corporate career, I was also an entrepreneur. I bought my first investment property at 23.
Wow.
And that was just phenomenal, realizing that you can have multiple streams of income, have a passion that you pursue in the corporate space, but then you might have some other passions that you might not have the opportunity to pursue in the workplace. So what do you do with that? And so early on in my career, I was pursuing corporate and also pursuing entrepreneurship, and didn't realize, even as an HR executive, how taboo that was to talk about. You don't have one thing, right? So I'm a
Oh, okay.
little bit of a unicorn in the sense of being a fractional CHRO and a 20 plus year HR executive that believes it's okay for people to have their own thing outside of their 9 to 5. When you're here, I expect you to be heads down and focused and giving me your all. But there's also nights and weekends and holidays. And so I also feel like when people know what lights them up inside outside of their 9 to 5, they're actually going to show up at their workplaces in a very different way and a healthier way, which is going to help retain this talent longer, which is what we want ultimately as a HR function.
So that's really intriguing to me, and and I hadn't really thought about that angle though. The having that additional revenue stream, excuse me, additional revenue stream. That's got to take some of the pressure off. I mean, because most of us have, we're working in one job. That's our revenue stream, and there's so much pressure on you just to maintain that. And I don't know, how does that change? Would that change you? And did it change you personally to know, well, you know what? I've got this additional revenue stream. Not like you're going to go in and be, tell
Oh,
the
for
boss
sure.
off or anything like that, but imagine it took some pressure off.
It did change things, right? I'm the CEO of Evolve Career. It's an executive leadership and career development firm. We help organizations, maximize and build their talent, and then also transition them. And while individual executives also seek my support out during career transitions, they might have experienced a layoff, they might have been terminated, they might realize that this isn't the place for them anymore. What do they do, and how can they monetize on their expertise? I realized quickly that if people create brands that can outlast the organizations that they work with, they have, again, they're going to show up different in their workplaces, and they're not going to be so blindsided if there's a reorganization, or if, this isn't a cultural fit for you as an employee. They're not as hurt when they see the organization having to manage people out or transitioning. And if they have their brand solidified, they're able to transition in their career as it's needed. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's unplanned.
Right.
And that's, one of my other loves outside of the HR space is LinkedIn, and helping you leverage LinkedIn as a branding tool, whether you're happy in your role, how can you leverage that to become a brand ambassador for your company and leverage your own personal contacts to bring more visibility to the organization? How can you leverage your contacts to bring in more prospective clients, and how can you help, talent again attract the best talent that wants to work for the organization because you're showing how great an experience you've had. So LinkedIn's underutilized for those that don't plan on transitioning in their career but really love the place that they work. I think that's one of the most underutilized tools of LinkedIn. And HR departments don't necessarily see the connection. They look at LinkedIn as a talent acquisition tool,
Right.
not necessarily as a corporate brand growth tool.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I know we've got a lot of points, a lot of ground we
Yeah.
want to cover here, but let's talk a little bit about that in terms of an HR mindset for LinkedIn,
Mhm.
using it for recruiting and retention. And like you mentioned, that's a tool for recruiting new people, but how can your workforce help the HR department by having a personal brand and talking about their company on LinkedIn?
The biggest mistake I see with organizations when they're trying to grow their corporate brand is the marketing team will produce these canned, uh, you know, this is what company XYZ has done recently. And while that's great, and they're asking their teams and their, leadership to repost this, it's impersonal.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is a social selling platform, which means they want to see the person behind the message. So if it's a flat repost, no comments, no thoughts, it's not going to um, have the impact that the marketing team actually wants. The change now is where we see executive leaders and we see those industry experts within organizations providing thought leadership and talking about the wins that they are seeing with their client base, with their stakeholders, and showing the story of what it's like to work with this organization. Because in social selling, people are vetting you before they meet you. The talent is vetting you before they meet you, right? the conferences that you want to land, seats at to become a speaker, and again tout the organization's wins, they want to see who you are before they meet you on the Zoom call or at the table. So again, corporate companies need to leverage LinkedIn in a way that your talent has a lot to say. And if you empower them, and if you hire coaches like myself that can teach them how to create content pillars and what's the content strategy and what would an appropriate call to action be in your content to drive the visibility that you want and the revenue long term, people are ready to say things and share why they love what they love. But it's got to be a very united front between marketing and corporate communications and HR. And usually those three departments are in silos.
Right. Right. So, I mean, we've talked a lot on this show, and we've had CEOs come on and talk about how if they have a LinkedIn presence, they see improvements in recruiting,
Mhm.
retention, company culture, sales, across the board. And I always ask when I hear that, what do I say to the CEO is like, prove it. I want to see, show me the direct link to the bottom line. What do you tell folks like that, Dr. Jessica?
That's a really great question. I'd say number one, the analytics tool is wonderful on LinkedIn. There's so many, with the rise of AI. I don't even think we can say the rise of AI, right? With AI being so integrated in our organizations now, you can start to see followers on your company page, on the personal page. You can start to see connection requests, your network. You can link that to hopefully your buyer's journey, where you see more engagement with the post. Maybe you're hosting events that you might not have seen the registration rate as high or the attendance rate as high, or even those booked sales calls on the back end. So there's so many metrics that we could, and obviously the revenue closed, right? If we say, oh, I found you on LinkedIn, or I saw a post and I started following you, or there's always this, we can reverse engineer how did someone enter our ecosystem.
Right.
And that's really the job that I have as a CHRO, to help the executive leadership team care enough about their personal brand and care enough about it to manage it in a way that their whole goal is to showcase their thought leadership, but then circle all of that influence that they're putting out in the marketplace to come back to the organization. Again, whether that's recruiting talent, whether that is prospecting new leads, whether this is, PR and visibility with media, and maybe we're raising funds. I just helped a CEO develop a completely new strategy around LinkedIn to bring forth more investors, and he's getting more meetings. Right? It's a very untraditional way, but it's going boots to the ground in a very targeted fashion. And when you think about LinkedIn, you have tools like Sales Navigator that can truly help you pinpoint your ideal client profile and no longer market or network in a way that's just busyness, but very targeted marketing and networking and business development for even those that wouldn't consider themselves to be in sales.
That's I mean, you're preaching to the choir over here, and that's such great stuff, especially the use of Sales Navigator. And I just think LinkedIn, it's a miracle machine. I mean, it's incredible. I met you.
Right?
You're in Maryland. I'm in Wisconsin. How did our paths cross? It's just you have so many serendipitous relationships that and connections that you develop that are just incredible. And if you're not on the network, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit, though, about one of the first points here we wanted to talk about is how to increase your visibility to land promotions, paid board seats, speaking engagements. There's a number of things you can do, but tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about the importance of visibility and how to increase it.
Well, over the years, again, growing Evolve career for 17 plus years, 20 plus years in HR, I've seen what works and what doesn't. Obviously, LinkedIn has multiple algorithms that change frequently, but over the years, I've created a proprietary methodology that anyone can pick up and start applying right away. It's called PACER. And so each of the letters mean a certain aspect of what you would do on LinkedIn. So P is for positioning and post. A is for audience, C is for conversations and conversions, E is for engagement, and R is for readiness and revenue systems. So if I were to tell anyone, hey, I want to get a promotion, I want to get a paid board seat, or I want to increase profits in my organization or in my small business, I'd start down the PACER model. You don't even have to apply all these letters, which is great. I have so many clients that say, Jessica, I've only done the P and the A and the C, and I'm light years ahead. I have a client I've worked with for over a year, and she's just starting the E, the engagement piece, because there's been so much traction and visibility from the first three letters. So when it comes to positioning and posts, your LinkedIn has to be clearly describing your niche, what problem you solve, how you can help someone. It isn't a bio of all the places that you've worked. It's not a resume. And so if you treat it like a resume, you're not going to become an opportunity magnet, which is what LinkedIn can truly do. So once your profile is optimized to speak to your ideal client profile, if you want to be a paid speaker, you need to speak to the conference planners and the meeting organizers and the executive directors of those smaller communities, right? That's the key there. So your positioning is first, and then posting on a regular cadence and having thought leadership that, again, solves the problem of your ideal client. Once we position, once we start posting, the A in the audience is building a very targeted network. We're not just reaching out to people just because they have big titles. It's, I've thought about who my ideal client profile is. I know their titles, I know the corporations that they work at, I know the skill sets that they have, and I am intentionally reaching out to people that I know that I can help them, and hopefully they can support me and what I'm aiming for. And then the C is the conversations and the conversions. Many people dislike networking. I'm an extrovert. I love it. I'm like, put me in a room with 500 people. I'm like, I hope I meet 250 of them genuinely. I want to know their dogs, their animals, their spouses' names. I want to know it all. I want to know, like, oh, you share a birthday with my cousin. I love it. But not everyone shares my love for networking. And so, why I think LinkedIn is such an underutilized tool for those that don't like networking is it's really one to one. You don't have to go through those networking events. You don't have to go to those conferences that overwhelm you. I might have, and I do this right now in my business, and I always have. I meet three new people every single week on purpose, cold strangers right from LinkedIn, and I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm either connecting them with someone else in my network, they're connecting me with someone else. And so that energy alone is having real conversations with people, and then those can convert into leads sometimes. Not always the case, but the conversations, business owners, companies, they're not having enough conversations about the things that matter. So then E is engagement. Again, this is, engaging with other people's posts and going to their events and even hosting your own LinkedIn event. I have one next Thursday around this particular topic. How do you leverage LinkedIn to grow profits in your own business or in a corporate entity? And then the R is the readiness. Do you know how to describe your superpowers? Can you deliver your elevator pitch? And do you have the systems set up in place that people can refer you in a few minutes? You can onboard a new client in hours and days, not weeks and months. So that's really the pacer model in a like what make 2 minute overview. I know that was a lot to take in, but I really believe in it. And I just get so excited about this because people can wrap their head around how to get started with LinkedIn,
Right.
or if they're not having success, they can start to make some refinements.
Yeah, and it's proven it works. I sat in on one of your webinars, and you had one of your clients explaining how she landed a new position, and it's really incredible and exciting to see. Um, Tell me a little bit about that in terms of the promotions.
Mm.
So, are we talking about switching jobs? Are we talking about internal?
I consider promotions both of those, right? So
Okay.
if let's talk both scenarios. If you are in an organization that you love, in role effectiveness, right? We want to be seen as someone that is effective in their role. And there's a model called PIE, PIE, performance, image, and exposure. Most people have an exposure issue. And so, if you are not able to navigate the organizational politics within your organization, LinkedIn's a great way to do that, to start posting content, to revamp your LinkedIn, to showcase all of the wins over your 10, 15, 20 plus year career. And all of a sudden, you'll start to connect with people that you work with day in and day out, but they didn't know that you had these superpowers.
Wow.
They didn't know that you had this win over here. And all of a sudden, you are now the solution to this problem that someone in a department two doors down didn't know that you could solve. So I still believe LinkedIn is critical for internal promotions. And then it goes back to that halo effect. Does your company see you as a brand ambassador that can help them with their strategic growth and their business goals? If they don't, you are competing against some other person that is doing that. So
Yeah.
that's number one for internal promotions.
Sure.
Now, I'll circle back to what I started off with, that if you have a passion outside of work and you have this side hustle, in the event there's a restructure, right, a reduction in force, you are more than likely going to praise the organization if they transition you well, and you will also have that cushion in the event a layoff happens unexpectedly. And we today in 2025 have to expect that could happen. We are no longer, some of my clients come to me with career coaching and they said, yeah, I want my next role to be 10 years. And I said, I hate to break it to you. That's probably not going to happen. Right. And not to say that I don't believe in long tenures anymore, but what was 10 years is now 3 years in tenure. And so our jobs are to manage our brands, that if a change happens in the organization, you have built your network, you have branded yourself, you have shown the organization that you've been heads down, and they will be even more likely to tee you up for your next opportunity. That's how you manage your brand well. So if you have to get promoted externally, that's okay. But try your best to stay internally, but showcase that you're more than just a task completer. You are able to again grow the corporate brand and bring your influence that you have individually back to the organization.
I really love that idea of empowering the team to build their own brand and in the process help you get the word out about your company
Right.
and show what it's like, show what the people are like who work at that company. I just think that that is such an ingenious way to approach it. Let's we're I just want to be conscious of the time. We went through the pacer model and thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
um, let's talk a little bit about how to use LinkedIn social selling tools to attract the recruiters, search firms, top talent, media, etc.
Great. I have one example. I'm working with a client right now, and he's aiming for his first C-suite position.
Okay.
And one of the just big wins that we recently had. Okay, are you ready to start writing content? We did all of the executive resume and the LinkedIn makeover and the interview coaching and the digital job search and networking, and we're all using LinkedIn for all of these tasks. But I said we're going to do something different. This is one thing that most people in transition never do. We're going to post content, and not the I need a job. If you know of anything, let
Yeah.
me know. Not
Yep.
that. It's I'm an industry expert and this is how I've solved problems for years, for decades. And here's what you need to be thinking about if you are challenged with these same issues. He posted, and I just posted a post about this win, 160,000 impressions with one post. Now I don't know if I don't know if you all know about impressions right now. The LinkedIn algorithm hates all of us, but
Yeah.
that is wild. Okay. And he posted that. He said, Jessica, it's crazy. He said, I've had 200 new followers.
Wow.
A couple of executive recruiters reach out to me for heads of, chief procurement officer, head of global business services roles, 120 connection requests. I mean, just 27 reposts, I think 600 plus comments, just or maybe 600 reactions, 300 comments. I mean, bananas, right? And this is just this was our second post that I'm teaching him how to post. And
Yeah.
he's,
Yeah.
he's like, I didn't expect for it to be this good. I was like, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
we did the happy dance there. And that's the key is when you are solving problems and you're talking to your peers and you're talking to the next generation, coming up behind you, and you're speaking to the recruiters and the search firms that they get into the room with the hiring manager. They say, find me the unicorn, find me the person that can do this, find me, they have to have this background, this credential, these skills, have worked at these organizations. And he's organically talking about that experience by offering advice. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And let's be realistic too. I mean, the fact that he went out and got 100K plus impressions,
That doesn't happen
that
often.
doesn't happen all the time. And
We don't need that though, Greg. We
yeah,
don't.
right. Yeah, we don't need that. You're right. Exactly. I mean, we love that. But um, I think what it speaks to, like we had Jake Hall on the show last week, and he's a huge influencer, and he will have a result like that. And then he might put out a post that he puts a lot of time in, and
It's
you know,
crickets. Yeah.
it just happens. But I think the one thing I want to point out here, especially for the CEO, is people, the CEOs, people in positions of power, executive roles, they have a pronounced impact on LinkedIn that is far exceeds most people. And what I always say to the CEOs is like, you are wasting a golden opportunity if you are not out there speaking, because you will outperform your internal marketing like
100%.
2 to 3x, and you just have this, you will get those kind of numbers
Right.
simply by your position in your community and in the industry. So
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And on that subject, it's having C-suite leaders and even, I mean, director levels, we're not talking only
Yeah.
senior executives, but when you've done something for over 8 years, you're technically an expert. And
Right.
so you speak to, again, I was just in a meeting today, a strategic partnership with IEPS. I am their dedicated LinkedIn branding expert and their CHRO contact. And I don't take that lightly. 9 vendors handpicked. And we were talking about the importance of making sure these executive teams understand the goal that they have in their network. And some of them feel too busy. There's a surge in LinkedIn ghostwriters being hired right now. I mean, it is changing the way that we think about personal branding and we think about corporate expansion. It's leveraging your talent. And again, if you want to be seen as promotable or you want to ensure job security, I tell you now, grow your LinkedIn network, share the wins from your company organically, and you will feel like, well, gosh, this is actually an additional superpower that I bring to the role outside of my industry expertise.
I have to ask you, and one of the things that jumped out at me, we talked about the promotions, we talked about how it can add to the sales and marketing effort. Talk to me a little bit about paid board seats because I haven't heard many people talking about that.
You're right. I'm sought out to speak at many different breaking in the boardroom and board readiness programs. I was just in Boston last or October. Now we're in December. So in October, speaking with Women in Bio, they have a board readiness program, and I spent a half day speaking to the women that went through their education program around, well, what's next? Because a lot of companies are nominating their leaders into these board readiness programs. But the key here is, how do I expand my network beyond who I know now? How am I showcasing that I'm the missing seat around the board? And how do I ensure that I'm making the impact once I land the seat? And so that is, again, LinkedIn is such an underutilized tool. They might update their cover photo and they might update their headline, but the rest of the profile is not positioning them to be on a paid board. I also work with Deerfield Management, and they have a breaking in boardroom program. I'm partnering with them to, again, offer that same level of education to their members. And the key here is, again, there's a lot of imposter syndrome that someone might feel even when they've reached great strides in their career. LinkedIn has an ability for you to pull your story together and, again, expand your network beyond who you know, so that then when people are meeting you digitally, you've already sold yourself. You've already done half the battle if your LinkedIn is actually positioning you for these types of seats.
Right.
And I love it. One of the women that were in the Breaking in the Boardroom program this year, we worked together one on one, and she said, Jessica, this is working entirely too well. You see, I retired for a reason. I've got my 1 year old grandson, and I was able to land 3 paid board seats in strategic advisory roles just from the work that we did. And it didn't take a long.
Wow.
So when a strategy is put into place, you will see results very quickly. There are 1 billion people on LinkedIn. There's
Right.
more than enough. There's the abundance mindset is, there can be 10 fractional CHROs. And I'm like, yeah. Come on, let's go. Let's talk about it. So how can I help you? And they're like, Jessica, you don't see competition. I don't, because there's so much business and there's so many opportunities out there that one single person or organization can never be ready to take all those on.
One thing that I hear a lot about is the time element.
Mm,
And how do I budget for this? I don't
yeah,
have time to do all this. And it's true. I mean, we're all super crazy, super busy. How do you balance? What do you take away because you're going to add something?
yeah.
How do you manage the time with this effort?
So my advice is a LinkedIn Power Hour. If you can give me an hour a day, I promise you it would be well worth it. You have 8 hours in the workday. Give me 1 hour. I don't care if that's you writing content, I don't care if that's you doing some business development, reaching out to people. I don't care if that's you attending a LinkedIn event. I don't care if that's you commenting on other people's posts. I don't care if that's you setting up some meetings with people. Just be reading some content. Just be on the platform for an hour. I promise you, it will be, just do it for 30 days. Just test it out for 30 days. And I promise you will say, this is so fun. Because again, I forgot to mention in the beginning, I can't stand social media. And I'm the LinkedIn lady. And people are
Yeah.
like, oh, did you just disqualify yourself? You got all these letters behind your name. You're a doctor, but you hate social media. I do, but I coach in a way that if I hate it, I know I can help some of you that do like social media and just don't know where to start. So a power hour is once a week, but daily would be my recommendation.
And I feel like the other thing to say is try LinkedIn because your what you think of your perspective of social media, your impression of it. This is a different network. It's a different kind of game, and the lot of the pollutants you see on other social media platforms,
This is
I don't
different.
feel like it's here. I feel like, to your point, that hour a day you will be energized. I mean, I'm energized just talking to you today and having this conversation. It will really lift you up. It will make you smarter. It will enlighten you and expand your horizons. So I agree with you 100%. And I guarantee you're going to want more than an hour after
You
those.
are. You are. And then I guess my part two to that advice is once the power hour, you're like, no, Jessica, but I have to do all the rest of the work that's still on my plate. I also provide business coaching to one-on-one to leaders that executive coaching one-on-one and to teach them how to create systems that they can get some help for some of these activities that their brain is on paper and they can delegate that work just like you would delegate some other tasks. So it is possible not to be on LinkedIn for 5 hours a day. I'm not, right? And
Yeah.
I run a full-time business, but I appreciate LinkedIn and I just wouldn't be where I am without it. It's 1 billion people on the platform. It's it's here to stay. Social selling is a thing and everyone's in sales. So get with the
I,
program.
I, I agree 100%. And I think after this interview, Dr. Jessica is going to have 1 billion followers. I have a feeling.
I don't know if I'm ready for 1 billion followers, but you know what? From your lips to the Lord's, I'll take it. And the other part is this: I've never desired to want to become viral. This isn't
Right,
about wanting to become an influencer or a popularity contest. It's
right.
not. It's about connecting with people in an intentional way to grow your business, to grow your executive brand, to be able to help people to understand where the market is, to do research, to stay on top of your game. That's what LinkedIn is a great tool for. So I
Love it.
appreciate you.
Yeah. So our half hour is up. We could keep going all day, but
Maybe I'll
Dr.
come back later in 2026.
Yeah, yeah, and we don't want to impinge on your infringe on your LinkedIn Power Hour too much. What if people want to get a hold of you, if they want to learn more about your coaching and your program, the Pacer program, and everything? How do they do it, Dr. Jessica?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I am the handle Jessica E. Samuels, and I am also at Jessica at Evolve Career. That is no s.com. Jessica at evolvecareer.com. And I also am hosting an event next week, December 10th at noon. Would love to have you there. If you're interested, just go to my page. You'll see in the event section that you can register, and it will be a fun LinkedIn event. Don't miss it.
Okay, well, thanks again for joining us, Dr. Jessica. I really learned a lot here, and I really love your approach and what you're doing. I think it's so valuable for organizations.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Greg, for having me here. Thank you to the community, and you let me know how I can support you and Winbound.
Sounds good. You want to hold on for just a second, Dr. Jessica, and we'll say so long to the rest of you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.